Hey, everybody. Oh, Mr. Mike, come over here. Thank you. Everybody's working for the weekend. Aren't you sorry I brought Mr. Mike over to say hello? Say howdy. Oh, wow. Friday night edition of Worldwide Ramblings, huh? Tomorrow night, I may be going to see some live music from some friends we've known for a number of years in Monroe, New York. Um, I don't think they'll get canceled. I think we've had our snow for a while. Had some snow today. Hey, 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 we got a lot to talk about, so don't miss a moment. You can always stop in the replay and continue on later. Some stimulating topics, and I know many of you will provide that as well, whatever your favorite topic may be. Jimmy maybe first. Hello, Jack and everyone coming in. Kay, good evening. Hi, Kay. Were you watching from tonight? The Days of Elijah by Rich Mullins. I remember that song. 4:30 a.m. in Germany. Well, isn't that a bit of all right? My partner Karen lived in Germany in the late 80s, 90s, early 90s. Her husband was assigned there. So she was there for a couple of years and tells me all the stories about Germany. I don't remember the name of the city or town that she lived in. Karen, if you're watching, you could type that in. You could. You've done it before. Well, once before. Brenda is here. Hi. Hello, Jack. Friday almost threw me off. It's not Saturday. Well, Saturday night's all right for fighting. Yeah. Kay in Kentucky. Cool, cool. William Brown. Hi, hi, William. Nice to have you aboard. Hello from Texas. Yes, yes. Been to your state many times, especially the Round Rock, Austin area. Linda Justice. Hey, from North Carolina. It's been cold in North Carolina, hasn't it? It's been cold everywhere. I mean, if you're right over the Florida line from Georgia, it was cold there, wasn't it? Terry Atkin, Aiken. Hello, Terry Aiken. Terry from Benton, Illinois. I know it's cold there, but your governor doesn't feel it. Melissa VD, good evening, Jack and all. I could lose a few pounds myself. Got to get on that. Got to get on that. Got to get on that mall walking. I have yet to do it. I'm disappointed in myself. Hi, Janice Stockman. Hello, Jimmy. She knows you, Jimmy, maybe, or maybe she does. Sandra. Hello, I'm new here. Well, welcome to Worldwide Ramblings here at the Virtual Church of the Disillusioned. We have a whole bunch of pre recorded videos up, and in the live section of this channel, we have our past live shows, of course. As soon as we do this broadcast, it will be immediately available for replay in the live section of the Virtual Church of the Disillusioned. You're in what? I've never heard of that one. I know there are strange names in Texas, William, because my son is a tractor trailer driver, and he drives mostly now only in Texas. He used to go all over the place, Louisiana and Mississippi, and certainly into Oklahoma. So I'm going to put on my Dollar Tree reading glasses because they are most efficient, you see. Um, but I still won't be able to pronounce it because I was always bad. That's why I couldn't be a newscaster when I was in radio, you know. I would have messed things up too much. I had to chase the newsman down sometimes to ask for a pronunciation in a live commercial I was going to do or something like that. Nacogdoches, Texas. I think I might have heard my son talk about that. Stefan, hello, Jack, and everyone from Canada. Yeah. Cold in Detroit. I've never heard of that. Iced roads and snow. Well, we have some snow, but they've plowed things pretty good now. They have. Um, let's see. Jimmy Samples. Hi, Jack. Jimmy Samples from Philippi, really? Philippi, West Virginia. Judy Wright. Hey, Jack from Georgia. I know it's been cold in Georgia, hasn't it? Been hearing about that. I'll tell you what, it's been cold even in the tip of Florida. Linda Medlock, hi from Washington State, way up there, huh? Do you feel safe, Linda? How's the crime? How close to Portland are you? Um, you spelled it right, Chat, or said it right. I would definitely not spell it right if I just tried to do it now without looking. I'm new to this page, been watching for a while. Very distant relative of Elvis, huh? Well, I've heard that before, Janice. He's got a lot of distant relatives, but I'm not doubting you. I'm just saying I have heard that. I'm originally from Columbus, Missouri, Mississippi. I'm not sure. Just Tupelo. Well, that ought to tell me right there, just south of Tupelo, Mississippi. All right, I think so. 150 miles, says Linda Medlock. And Carlene Brown, hi from Florida. Oh, yes, we used to get quite a few people from Florida, making me jealous. I mean, there's a couple of polka shows I want to go to in Florida. Jimmy Sturr, the Polka King. I'll show them right now for any Florida people with all kinds of music, not just polka. They do everything big band. They do rock and roll. They're going to have Chris Caffrey from the Trans-Siberian Orchestra there. They start at the Strawberry Festival on Thursday, the 29th of February. Yes, this is a leap year. And then the very next day in the about 5 o'clock, they start. Doors open at 4 o'clock. It's a Florida's West Coast Polka Fest at 5 p.m., featuring 18-time Grammy winner Jimmy Sturr and his orchestra with special guest Chris Caffrey from the Trans-Siberian Orchestra. He'll be rocking and rolling. He's just finished the Christmas tour that he does every year, lead guitarist for the Trans-Siberian Orchestra. $25 at the door. No, at the door is 28, and believe me, it's worth it. And there'll be food that you can purchase there and everything like that. Here's the flyer for that one. I can't see it. So sometimes when I watch the replay, I realize I'm not holding it quite right. And then the very next day, I believe, the second, a Saturday, from noon to 3 p.m. That's earlier than they usually go. They usually start at 2 o'clock, but they're starting at noon till 3 at the Polish American Club in Port St. Lucie, Florida. That's exit 121 off Route 95, in case you want to know. Cash bar, Polish food available. Kitchen opens at 11 a.m. Polish platter, half chicken dinner, kielbasi sandwich, 22 advance tickets at the gate, 25. So that'll be on March the 2nd. March the 2nd. And believe me, I've seen many Jimmy Sturr shows and enjoyed every single one of them, Florida people. So I was in Port St. Lucie for the last one. He didn't do Tampa last year, hasn't done it for a while. He's coming back, though, and I would love to be there. I don't know this year. I got Wayne Newton on February 29th up in this neck of the woods. It was supposed to be back in the fall, and then he pushed it to February 29th in Sugarloaf at the theater there, where a lot of people come. Joyce is here. Hi, Joyce. You're in Georgia, are you? Yeah. Melissa says, so she's talking to Brenda already, our most popular person here often. Yeah. It verifies that. Well, welcome, Carlene Brown. Are you, do you know William Brown? We have two Browns. That's cool. Judy Wright is talking to Brenda as well. See, Brenda, you've got to start your own channel. Richard Lyon joins us. Hello, Jack. Another Florida resident who I believe was it the Bronx or Queens? I always forget your borough. It could be Brooklyn. I know it's not Staten Island. I'm pretty sure about that. You love the Strawberry Festival, Carlene. He will be there like at 10 o'clock in the morning. That's the early gig. He opens the Strawberry Festival every year. Every year he opens the Strawberry Festival, and it's only like an hour set. So you got to be there really early to see him at the Strawberry Festival. Um, I wish I was going to be there. Oh, Queens. Okay. Yeah. You told me that before, but you know my mind. It's just not it's not what it used to be. Was it ever good? I'm not sure. But welcome. Going to start with our little lead topic about Paul McCartney. And I better go to the glasses where I can see what I'm doing because I'm going to be trying to read my own writing here. And that is difficult as it is, you know. I don't say I write like a doctor, but almost that bad. Almost that bad. Remember those prescriptions that they used to, they'd hand it to you and you'd hand it to the pharmacist, and the pharmacist would be there saying, oh boy, this is terrible. I'm not quite sure. I better call the doctor. So I have a video up here entitled, it's been up for a while, Did McCartney Die 56 years ago? Now it would be like 57 or more. The video's been up for a year. Did Ringo verify? It's gotten a fair amount of hits, nothing like the Elvis videos, you know, but it's gotten a fair amount of hits. I'd like to see it get some more. I put a new picture up as the thumbnail showing possible pictures of who the Beatles called Fall, which means phony Paul, really. Fall. Um, this has to do with a movie that may still be up on Tubi. You can find it somewhere. You can buy it if you want to. Um, but I saw the movie and was quite impressed. I didn't come to a conclusion that Paul McCartney was dead. I'm not going off on a tangent, don't worry. But it was very interesting. And Mike from London contributed to this story. And Mike, I've got you ready to go, and we will tell the people what you noticed by your diligent reporting and freeze framing and stuff. So stand by, and lots of other good stuff tonight. Watch the whole thing if you can. You can always pause and come back to it, all right, when it replays. There's a 2010 movie, Paul McCartney is Really Dead. It's the last testament of George Harrison. From Highway 61 Revisited. Some refer to it as a mockumentary, you know, like that Elvis Found Alive. People think that's real. That's also up on Tubi, I believe. That Elvis is alive, where he's living in some small suburban house with Cadillacs parked in the front driveway there. You know, no gated community, no nothing. That's just a mockumentary. There's no truth there. That's not Elvis Presley, and they get some things very wrong there. They're not factually correct as they tell the story. So that's just, you know, that's just a for fun movie. So I won't see what you're writing. Hi, Cheryl Everhart. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And Nancy DeMarco. Hello, Jack and family. So glad you're here. Got to talk about the woke pope tonight and a whole bunch of things, but your topics are certainly welcome. A favorite conspiracy theory with many, it's in the top 10 of the conspiracy list, favorite conspiracies. It stays in the top 10. Paul McCartney died in the early morning hours of November 9th, 1966, after his car skidded off an icy road and crashed into a pole. As the story goes in the movie, they were working late in the studio. John was wanting to get more serious with the lyrics, and Paul was saying, we do love songs. We do catchy pop songs. We're a pop song band. And of course, Lennon had in mind things like Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. And, you know, the older the Beatles got, the more they became a message group. And but Paul wasn't having it, and he kind of left in a haste about 4 o'clock in the morning. It was pouring rain. This is what the movie talks about. He goes down the road, and here he sees a I think, waiting under a tunnel in the pouring rain, a very attractive lady who is hitchhiking, and he picks her up. Off they go, and according to the movie, at some point she realizes who is sitting next to her, and she decides to lean over and start kissing him. She distracts him. He loses control on an icy road and hits a pole, and that is the end of Paul McCartney, according to the movie. But she was okay, and she was outside the car and was able to tell the police what happened and everything like that. That's the start of the movie. According to Rolling Stone and other sources, the remaining Beatles, Lennon, Harrison, and Starr, worried about how the death might impact the future of the Beatles, so they covered up the death. They replaced him with a lookalike, they say, Billy Shears, who looked and sounded like Paul. Britain's M15, that's like the CIA in the United States. Britain's M15 not only helped out, but they were insistent that their way would be what became policy. They feared that if the news got out of Paul McCartney's death, many females would commit suicide. Obviously, Paul was the cutie of the Beatles. I know they were all good looking in their own way, and John certainly, and George and Ringo, you know, but Paul was the teen idol of the group. We know that. So they feared mass suicide, and they were very heavy handed about saying, this is what we're going to do. This is what you're going to follow, John Lennon and George and Ringo. In 2009, Time magazine included Paul is Dead in the top 10 conspiracies of all times, top 10 conspiracy theories. There was indeed a Paul McCartney lookalike contest. I looked this up, but they got it wrong in the movie. Sponsored by Dick Clark's American Bandstand in 1965. But the winner was Keith Allison. According to invandis.proboards.com, Invandis is INVANDDIS proboards.com. Keith Allison was the winner of the contest, and he joined Paul Revere and the Raiders, they say, in 1966 in the article that I'm referring to. They probably got the year wrong. There is no known lookalike named William Campbell who would develop the nickname Billy Shears. Allison died in 2021 at age 79 of natural causes. He joined Paul Revere and the Raiders in 1968. Lead singer was not Paul Revere, of course, but it was Mark Lindsay. He sang all those great songs for the most part, all those many hits that they had. I saw Mark Lindsay down at the Orange County Fair years ago as a solo with a band, singing the Paul Revere songs, and they had some good ones, didn't they? Indian Reservation, Kicks, Hungry for Your Love. So here, I hate using my phone because there'll be someone, no matter which way I hold the phone, will say, can't see a thing, too much glare. So I usually wait for Google Photos, but I wanted to get this in. And here are 4 pictures of Keith Allison, who won the Paul McCartney lookalike contest. Now, that is not bad. So someone who says, I can't see a thing, you probably need to see the ophthalmologist. I like to tilt it sometimes because it gets rid of some of the glare. You can see in several of those photos, one on the top and one on the bottom, he, looks a little like Paul McCartney, correct? I had never seen this before. So here's Keith Allison, who died in 2021 from Paul Revere and the Raiders, according to the source I gave you, and I'm only speaking of possibilities, won a Paul McCartney lookalike contest in 1965. Dick Clark was the man who put it all together. God rest his soul, right? So, yeah, that's how that goes. The premise of the movie is that George Harrison really played up how heavy-handed the M15 organization was, because when they realized that the Beatles were putting clues all over their albums and that John Lennon pretty much invented backward masking. I Bury Paul, Paul is Dead, of course, the cover of the Abbey Road album, where Paul is walking with no shoes on, but a suit. That's how they bury people in England. They don't put shoes on them. Why would you, right? And but the pavement would have been so hot, I don't understand, because Paul said it was very hot, and he came up with the idea to well, let's just take a picture for the cover right outside. We were all walking in the street, but they had the costumes already to look like that. I mean, maybe they took him a day or two to put it together, but when he says the only reason I didn't have shoes on um, was because well, what did he say now? He gave an excuse that didn't make any sense, because he said it was really hot out and you wouldn't be walking on hot pavement with no shoes on. All right. So there is that. But then Mike from London, because he knows I've done this video on Paul McCartney, which you can find here at the Virtual Church of the Disillusioned. Please subscribe and like, everybody watching. We've got 16 likes already and 44 people watching. I thank you so much. Mike, I hadn't even decided to even mention McCartney this week. I wasn't even sure if I was going to do a broadcast, because we usually do Saturday nights at 10:30. And I always promo the Worldwide Ramblings. Sometimes we come on impromptu. But Mike sent me an email, and first he talked about Elvis, and then he said this: just out of interest, I have come across a McCartney story that surprised me. Back in '95, the remaining Beatles released the official video to the song Free as a Bird. I certainly remember that. That was a big thing. Oh, a new Beatles song, just like we just had one in 2023. The one where they used a John Lennon tape and finished the track. During the video, it depicts a car crash scene, but when watched when watched back frame by frame, at the scene is a black van, and on its back window for just one frame is an image, possibly of a bloodied and rather deceased looking McCartney. In normal running time, it's impossible to see it. Quite shocking, really, and I wonder why they did it. Mike Stein. Thank you, Michael. Yeah, well, they did all kinds of clues and stuff like this, and supposedly that's what got M1 5, or is it 15, M115, so mad at them, and they even roughed John Lennon up a little bit. Supposedly, that's all in the movie. Paul McCartney is really dead, and it's well worth your watch. It's unknown in some circles as a mockumentary. I'm not saying I believe that Paul McCartney died in a car crash early morning, November 9th, 1966. But some of the conspiracies will turn out to be true. I'm not a conspiracy guy. I did one subject speaking about Elvis Presley and did a lot of videos on it. I still will do breaking news if there should be breaking news, because I'm kind of the chronological storyteller. But we have plenty of videos up here for you to see, Marie. All right. Do we have a Marie? I'm not even sure. We do. All right, we're back. So there's that. Bob 1974 must be here because you're talking to them. Hello, Bob 1974. Patty must be here too, because I see that name. We missed some names there. We acknowledge Nancy DeMarco. Joyce, I had a double cataract surgery last year, and I feel like I was handed a miracle. Oh, praise the Lord. That's great news. Yeah, it's always good when it works out. They do it so frequently now. You're usually in good hands. Susie Young is here. She's got her little blonde hair there, her picture. Hi, Susie Q. I love you. Mike Fortner. I've heard this story, and I think it is very plausible. Oh, could this be another topic for me? I'll look into it a little bit, but, I don't expect too much to come from it. I'd have to get Andy up here to roll stuff in too, for sure, if I found something. Jack, what was your first concert? Says Bob, 1974. Wow, you got me a thinking now. Bob. I mean, and that's not recent, obviously, so I should be able to come up with it. I'll think about it. Patty, Patty, Patty. Patty, Patty, Patty. Patty with an I. Joyce, can someone tell me what the weather is down south? You Georgia people, you North Carolina people, you should be able to do that, right? All you have to do if you have a fire stick is say, Alexa, what's the temperature in Port St. Lucie, Florida? I like to do that just so I can get depressed all over again. Here's what I heard: Paul died in a car accident. Billy Shears took Paul's place. But what it looks like is that it was really Keith Allison that won that contest. You know, if we're going by the premise of the movie, it was Keith Allison who joined Paul Revere and the Raiders in 1968. But I speak of possibilities. The whole thing could be poppycock. It could be Boulder Dash. You don't hear those words anymore, do you? It's like finding a woman that's named Gertrude. There's no more Gerties. There's no more dirty Gerties. And they were dirty. I'm sorry, but they were. Ever see a beautiful hot babe named Gertrude? Come on. Or Elvira? Well, Elvira. I bet you there were. I take that back on the Elvira. Vicky Smith. Hey, Jack. Stay warm here. You got 8 inches of snow? No, 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 not this time around. We got about 3, maybe. It snowed throughout the day. You know, it was all sporadic. Dandy Andy, also known as Red Bear, was out there shoveling or using the small snowblower 3, 4 times today. Cold in Illinois, of course, got maybe an inch or so of blowing snow, high winds, but sunny today. Thank God we didn't have the winds, and we still don't, because that can turn it into excruciating. I think I saw a documentary about that. Was it the one I mentioned? Paul McCartney is really dead. There's probably more, right? Richard Lyons. So, Jack, was Paul with wings, or was that an imposter? Well, the whole thing would be an imposter if the premise of the movie was right. But remember, they didn't have it as Keith Allison winning the contest. And in Wikipedia, if you check out, they got a page that's called Paul is Dead. They don't even mention that there was an actual contest. They say that's the rumor. So somebody who wrote that, because, you know, different people write Wikipedia, they didn't even verify that. That's sloppier than I have been on occasion. I don't believe he died. Okay, yeah, I don't. I would be in that category. Paul and Ringo, only two left. John killed for things and people he knew. Okay, going to put a spin on it, huh? I saw pictures of the caretaker of Paul's childhood home. He looks like Paul. They say John Lennon is still alive. No, he passed away right there on the sidewalk in front of a lot of people. Um, as they sing in the, as Elton John sings, Bernie Taupin wrote in the song Empty Garden, it's funny how one insect, I'm just going to say it because I can't sing Elton John, can I? Can't sing at all. It's funny how one insect can damage so much grain. Yeah, really sad. What a time, what a special moment at Madison Square Garden to be there with Elton John. And, years ago, which I missed, he had John Lennon come out. That's when they had that record, Whatever Gets You Through the Night. Remember that? Elton John and John Lennon did that song together. And Elton John said, now, John, when that song becomes number one, I want you to come out at Madison Square Garden and sing it with me. And John, in his later years, started to get, not so thrilled about going out and doing live performances. The Beatles stopped touring long ago. But he said, yeah, sure, thinking it would never become number one. And it did become number one. That was around the time I was in broadcasting school in 1974. I was in Hartford, Connecticut at the Connecticut School of Broadcasting, not the main campus, but the Hartford campus. And so John was a man of his word. He, without any introduction at all, they just put the spotlight in the corner by the stairs, and the crowd went crazy as they realized the man that was climbing those stairs was the legendary John Lennon. And now people I've said here, that when I did there's a John Lennon video here, say, well, I don't like him because of this, that, and the other thing. Well, we could say that about a lot of people. I mean, I don't do background checks to see if I'm a music fan. I just know that John Lennon was incredible. And when I had made it sound like maybe I didn't think so in a previous video, because I forget what we were talking about now, I wanted to correct that because John Lennon was my favorite Beatle. But the other three were very special to me too. I love some of the Wings songs, "Live and Let Die," and "Listen to What the Man Said," many others. So yeah, a book from Billy Shears is supposed to come out when he dies. Oh, not the thing when he dies again. Well, let me say this. It's a little cowardly in my book to wait until you die to release a book. It's a middle finger to the fans. Well, I've never said that before, have I? But I think it is. No, it's not the way to do it. You got some explaining to do. You explain. You explain. I got some explaining to do. You got some explaining to do, Lucy. Oh boy. Yeah, you would, Shelley. You would. Of course, you believe that Donald Trump is also going to take over the prime ministry in Canada. Shell is the campaign manager for Canada for Donald Trump. I think I am King Richard the Lionhearted. See, that's the thing, Richard. When people, they have these past life regressions, they go sit down between, them and the madam in a crystal ball. She never says, well, okay, let's see. What I'm seeing here is in your last lifetime, you ready for this? In your last lifetime, you used to clean toilets at the Howard Johnson's Motor Lodge. No, no, no. You were always the Queen of Sheba in the last lifetime. You were always, one of the first great operatic singers. What was his name there? Caruso, right? You were Caruso before. It's funny you can't sing now, but you used to be Caruso. Right here in this house. Red Bear, Dandy Andy, looks like Grandma Anna. I saw a picture. She's passed away, and Andy wasn't born till after she died, so the reincarnation thing would work out. I saw a picture of Grandma Anna that Karen showed me, and it looked like I was looking at Andy. It's unbelievable. I'm sure he appreciates me talking about this stuff. Um, Patricia Harmon. Hi, where are you watching from, Patricia? And another Patricia, but Patty with an I. I'm 78 years young, so I love rock and roll, but turn to country music. Is that the old country or the new country? Some people say the new country isn't so country, but there's some great ones like Toby Keith. He's not doing well, right? Toby Keith needs a lot of prayer. He's lost a lot of weight and stuff, and you know, he's in the fight for his life. He's in the fight for his life. Debbie Bishop, that's a new name. The daughter of Joey Bishop, the famous talk show host. Oh, no, the wife of Stephen Bishop, who did On and On, On and On. I can't remember any more lyrics of that song that I played on the radio as a disc jockey many times. What else did Stephen Bishop do? He had two hits, didn't he? Can't pull that out of my head. Can't pull that out of my head. But that's about all the bishops I knew, I think. We're going to talk about other bishops, though, when we talk about the woke pope. Richard Lyon wanted me to do that one. Just kidding. You're from Kentucky, too, huh? Wow, cool. We do well in Kentucky. Mary Aragon. Hi, Jack. Hope you are staying warm. It's cold here in Florida, huh? What do you consider cold, Mary? There's nothing quite as pretty as Mary in the morning. And then along comes Mary. That's a difficult song to sing. Someday I'm going to look at the lyrics and try to sing a little bit of them from the association. They go very fast. When we met, I was sure out to lunch. Now my empty cup is as sweet as the punch. Sing with me, Richard. Sing with me. Has anyone read the book titled Baron Trump's Marvelous Underground Journey, written in 1889? Huh? Another Baron Trump. Is that where they got it from? Because the Baron Trump we know seems to grow like a foot every time we see him. Um, oh, you were named after Debbie Reynolds. Well, what a legend, huh? Last time I saw Debbie in a film, I guess, was in that great Albert Brooks film, Mother. She was wonderful in that, but I saw her in so many things. Yeah, she lived a good life, kind of a long life. Another Patricia Barn, 1 1. You're only 11 years old. My youngest listener, Patricia Barn. Hi, everyone. Snowy here in Pennsylvania. Well, I'm just a hop, skip, and a junk. I'm a hop, skip, and a junk from Pennsylvania, Matamoros, and Milford. Artsy town, that Milford. A lot of art in Milford. Large gay population. The Milford Diner, really cool. Uh, and Patty says, Debbie, I'm in Metcalf, Colorado. Do you have a pot store, Patty, with an I, right there in your town? I bet you do. I know they do in Denver. What's been going on in Denver? I, Something was on my mind about Denver, and now I can't remember it. I didn't write it down. I didn't write it down. Uh, sh- Patty's in Anderson County, Kentucky. Well, well, well. Jack, how far are you from Amityville? Where they had that horror show where James Brolin was getting all intense. I think I'm pretty far because I think that's down on the island, right? The Hudson Valley, I'm 60 miles from Manhattan. So add another bunch of miles to get to Amityville, I think. Um, you wanted to know my first concert. David Quino. Hello, Jack. Quino. Hello, Jack. First time writing. Many say there's a height difference between Paul and Fall, just like there's a height difference between Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis. Oh, I'm just kidding. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of things in the movie. They did cover the height. They do cover that. Have you seen that movie? It could still be on Tubi. I gotta tell you what I'm so excited about, and yet there's a whole bunch of these. Has anyone? I love Tom Selleck. I just love Tom Selleck, but I've never really watched Blue Bloods. He always plays a cop, and I'm sick of him playing a cop. He was really funny in the movie In and Out. I love it when an actor does something completely different than they've ever done before. And kissing Kevin Kline on the lips passionately was different than he had ever done before. I can just imagine Macho Tom Selleck, not Scarrett, that's another actor, Tom Selleck perusing the script, and he comes to that part, and he says to himself, oh boy. Well, Kevin Kline is one of my favorite actors. He is a genius. And this is a really funny script. And I see why it's in the script that I would do that because I'm playing a gay reporter. I'm going to have to do this. I'm going to have to do this. What will it do to my macho image? I'm saying things that are just coming off the top of my head. But it's Jesse Stone. Anybody watch the Jesse Stone's story? I guess they started in the early 2000s and they went into about 2015 or so. This is all before Blue Bloods. So whenever he started Blue Bloods, I guess he was done with Jesse Stone. But I've been watching like 3 or 4. Half of the ones I'm watching say expiring in 13 days. So I'm binging Jesse Stone. Tom plays a former Los Angeles sheriff, Los Angeles County sheriff who lost his job because his wife left him and he started a drinking. So now he's got this drinking problem. That's why they fired him. They gave him his pension, though. And so he comes to Paradise, Massachusetts to start all over. And they can see why he left and whatever, but they give him a chance. And he's got a dog. And, each story is very, very good. And William Devane before Rosalind Capital. William Devane plays his therapist, and he was a past drunk and has drugs and what have you, so he can relate. And Tom goes to him for therapy, you know. And here is the line from Jesse Stone. I'll only give you one more thing, then watch for yourself because there's a lot of nuggets here. Um, basically, William Devane, as the therapist, asks him what's bothering him the most, and Jesse, Tom Selleck as Jesse, says, I think I lost my conscience. It's really good. Check it out. Jesse Stone. Chicago was your first concert, huh? In Queens. I never saw them. I saw the group that is known as the Farm Team for Chicago with Jimmy Sturr in Goshen, New York at the Goshen Historic Track, first track in the state of New York. It's a place where in the 40s, James Cagney and other movie stars used to come to Goshen when they weren't filming to play the horses in Goshen, New York at Goshen Historic Track. And they were terrific. They said every time Chicago needs a new member, they contact them and what are they going to say? They can't say no to Chicago. I love Chicago. I used to practice in 1974, Richard, in the broadcast studio there. They had studios for us to practice in after we had our class. And I would talk up songs like Feeling Stronger Every Day or coming out of a song like that. And another one would be, does anybody really know what time it is? Saturday in the Park. Oh my God. How many people had Color My World back in the 70s as a wedding song? It was either that or the wedding song by Paul Stuckey, right? It was a few of them like that. Yeah. Shirley Chambers. Hey, Jack, did you see Kevin Kline in Pirates of Penzance? I think I saw a little of that, but I didn't see it all, and I should, right? Because I've never seen Kevin Kline not be very interesting. Um, was Linda Ronstadt in that? I know they did it on Broadway. I'm pretty sure they did it on Broadway for years. Okay, off subject, says Vicky. Has anyone heard of this Michael Presley? Yeah. Was that you that's been telling me about that in the email? Somebody's been telling me about that, and I haven't really looked at it yet. Who has DNA proof, so says he, that he's Elvis's son. He did an interview from Vegas with some lady, says he lives in Tennessee, also was born in 1959. I don't have a picture of him, but of course, we did show. This is just old business I'm catching up on. Not trying to do a new video here, not putting any magic words in the title, but I will respond to your questions sometimes, if I feel I should. That's Tom Presley. Tom Presley. This could be Tom Presley as a boy. The glare is getting me on this one. Now you can see that. Don't tell me you can't. There'll always be that one person. Could that be Tom Presley as a boy? Could he be a love child? Tom Presley. I wanted to show you this because I tried to show it off my phone last week or the week before, and it was a disaster. This should be a little better. This is allegedly reported to be Lisa Marie's funeral service booklet, it says. And this copy has Lisa Marie, a picture of her in front of it. So I wanted to show you that because we failed miserably trying to show it before. And in the video, which is doing so well, did Elvis preach Lisa Marie's private funeral? I read this card, what's on the card, who does the opening number. Tom Presley sings several songs. according to this, but this could be faked. This could be faked. And, you know, I just speak of possibilities there. And this is old business that I'm finishing up. Um, Something else that people have been commenting on is this photo right here. You believe that's at Graceland, and a lot of you believe that was right after the Lisa Marie funeral. I'm not talking about the private service. Bob Joyce preached opposite the public memorial, but the private service was possibly on January 28th at Graceland. A lot of you think Priscilla and the pastor came back to Graceland, and that's them right there. But that's what you think, and you are entitled to that opinion. I don't make any final conclusions. Okay? Okay, okay, okay. Groovy, but in a far out kind of way. Yeah, baby. Oh, I have so many glasses. I'm now like Red Fox. They say Red Fox died broke. Did you know that? That's what Damon Wilson says. He says he died broke. You sent me that. Okay, Brenda. Yes, you did. Well, thank you. It's a popular one, and putting that as the thumbnail on one of our videos, one of our live videos, did very well for us. So thank you very much. I hadn't said much about that photo in the first time I used it as a thumbnail, but it really did. Yeah, Red Fox was broke. Um, he would come up to the Catskills to perform. I work with a guy somewhere who told me that he was used to be a cab driver, and he limo driver, and he was summoned to pick up Red Fox at one of the New York airports and take him to maybe Kutcher's or the Concord in the Catskills. He said Red Fox couldn't have been a nicer man. And at the end of the ride, he gave him a $100 tip. Red Fox, I actually got to see a taping when I lived in Los Angeles. It was well after Sanford and Son. It was that Red Fox show, probably the one that he would have the big heart attack that he always talked about on Sanford and Son and pass away during rehearsals. But I saw an actual taping of it long before that happened. And, he was terrific. But we were warned that after the show is taped, Mr. Fox likes to come near the audience and take her microphone. And you might want to leave if you're sensitive because he might be pretty blue. He does that. There's no kids allowed. But I remember Red Fox taking the microphone. There's, I don't know, about 150 people sitting there, just watched the live taping. And he says, well, I just want to let you know, I might say the worst word you can say. Well, to me, the worst word is the Lord's name in vain. The F-bomb, I might say mother. That's how he began his little comedy routine with the audience. Let me have some water. I would love to go see Pastor Bob in person, but I think it would be disrespectful to the church. Well, I know it's becoming a tough ticket, Debbie, because, people are coming now, international visitors that are coming. They only have about 100 or so seats, and people are ending up in the fellowship hall, So, well, I've talked about all this before, so I'm kind of moving on from the topic. Not planning any new videos except breaking news. There was certainly breaking news in 2023. We'll see what happens this year. I don't know. But I'm not looking to find excuses or reasons because we have so many videos up here. Hi, Deb Smith. How are you? We've got a lot of Debbies now, huh? We've got little Debbies, which is, well, let's face it, it's a snack cake for poor people. Archway. Oh, gee, Karen buys Archway once in a while. I said, no, 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 Karen, no, no. Let's stick with the Pepperidge Farm or something like that, or Tate's. Anybody have Tate's? Huh? The lemon cookies? Oh dear, I've got to stop eating this stuff. Yes, my mama would say it's beating a dead horse, or an alive horse, or a horse that's alive. You know. Well, I I always found new stuff, especially in 2023. I would repeat some of the old stuff, it's true, but I always found new stuff. Always found a lot of new stuff in 2023, Marie. But Little Debbie's are not cheap anymore. Nothing is cheap anymore, Mary. I mean, what's a large size Big Mac meal now? In some spots, I've heard it's 15, $16. I haven't been to New York City in many years. I used to go all the time, especially when I was a young man looking to sin in the 70s. We won't tell those stories, and I sure the heck won't tell the Hollywood, California stories. Oh, no, no, never, never, never. You will pry those stories out of my cold, dead hand. I tell stories about the Village People movie that I did security on and stuff, and meeting Shelley Winters in Beverly Hills, but shows that I went to. But there are some stories I stay away from, as much as I stay away from anchovies. You know what I'm saying? Who the heck eats anchovies anyway? Probably Richard Lyon. That would be my guess. You miss that New York pizza, don't you? Do you have anything resembling New York pizza in your neighborhood? Funny thing, Sean Hannity moves into Palm Beach, Florida, supposedly a $53 million townhouse. It's what he calls it, a townhouse. He's going to do radio and TV from there. You'll think he's in the Fox studio, except you won't see too many guests sitting next to him anymore, because they'll all be on Zoom or whatever, because, they're, I could see, obviously, President Trump coming and sitting next to him. He lives in the same neighborhood. It's funny. Sean Hannity moves in, finally says goodbye to New York, and Kathy Hochul says goodbye and is down in Palm Beach. And like in the same period of time as Sean moved in, he bought the house back in 2021 and did renovations. It just wasn't good enough for him, Brett Baer had a home there, and he sold it and moved out. Having Sean Hannity as a neighbor was a bridge too far for Brett Baer. He sold his home, and I saw pictures of that. It looked beautiful, for 13 point something million. Yeah, even the news anchor has that kind of money. Hannity lives 4 miles from me, huh? So you're near Billionaires Row. Do you drive by? Are you allowed to, or is it completely gated, Billionaires Row, Richard? Are you able to get in there? My goodness. A mile from Trump, huh? Yeah, a mile from Mar-a-Lago. Who was it that said, just heard the quote today, talking about President Trump. The day they became a President Trump fan was the day that the FBI raided Mar-a-Lago. I've got Tucker in the title. Let's do that. Two people very close to President Trump. Two people, Melania, and now I heard it tonight out of Don Jr.'s mouth. Two people say that their choice would be Tucker Carlson for vice president. And that people say he listens to both of them. Now, I would think he would go with something a little more diverse, if not a female, maybe Senator Tim Scott. I said Tim Smith the first time in the video. In the promo for this show, I said Tim Smith. That was a slip of the tongue. Tim Smith is a legendary moonshiner. My Moonshiners show is back on Tuesday nights at 8 o'clock on Discovery Channel. I never miss an episode. If I should miss it live, I catch it like the very next day. So Tim Scott endorsed President Trump for president. And it was Nikki Haley who appointed Tim Scott to the South Carolina Senate back in the day. He's been the senator for a while, and of course, he's won elections since then. What a slap in the face to Nikki Haley. I wish I could figure where I heard people. I know Rudy Giuliani had some things to say. She's just a ruthless person. She's just a ruthless person. She will do anything to be president of the United States. You know, all the quotes Nikki Haley is saying right now about Donald Trump, because she realizes that's her target for the moment. Not Joe Biden so much, but it's Trump, because she came in third in Iowa. All the things she's saying, the Democrats will put into their commercials against Trump. There comes a time when you have to become a team player. When you lose, when the lead candidate has 51%, wins 99 counties in Iowa, and you come in third place, maybe it's time to think about that. But she doesn't think like that. And she thinks about, endless money to the Ukraine, even though they keep bombing the hell out of the Ukraine, and our own country is in flames. She has said things about the border that made you think she would be somewhat soft on the border. Now, I'm all for legal immigration, and we have some great. This town, this city that I live in right now, used to be a city. The majority was white, and now we are the minority, and we have a large Hispanic and Chinese population living in this city, and they're all very hard workers. They're not looking for a handout. They're all very hard workers that have businesses, many of them, or they just work extremely hard. So I have seen that transformation. I live in a transformation city, you know. So well, I don't know. All I know is that by the time she loses South Carolina, her home state, to Trump, maybe by then she'll get the message. Most people say there's no chance, but she's counting on something else, isn't she? Just like Ron DeSantis, she's counting on Trump not being able to run, that the legal things so ensnare him, And I'm so happy this whole thing is going down with Fannie Willis. Yes, Fannie, not funny. Fannie Willis. I'm so happy that it couldn't happen to a more deserving person, her and her lover, who he has made, this guy who's never tried a case like this of any magnitude. She makes him, and she said, "Oh, I'm paying him the same amount." She said this from a church pulpit. Then we found out, no, he was making $100 more an hour. And so far in this case, he's made something like $650,000. This lawyer. And they have gone on trips, and all the business records are there. She's not going to be able to deny it. I hope they throw the whole thing out. And I know I can get an amen from Shell on that. Well, Randy's here. Hello, Randy, also known as Tammy. I think that's his wife. Trump can't do better than Noam. I love her. I'm not going to argue the point. The only thing is no diversity there, no diversity. But yeah, she would probably be my favorite female choice, and not just because she's beautiful. She's very funny in her commercials that run here in New York too, asking for people to come to South Dakota. She's very good, and she says it's the freest state. So I love her. I love her. I know they'd hate to lose her there. We're in serious bad shape, praying we get help from the good Lord. Well, we tend to get the kind of people representing us that we deserve. And the last days are coming, and they're not going to be good days. So the Lord will decide. But certainly if we were able to get a Republican in November, and yes, I would hold my nose and vote for Nikki Haley if I had to. that would stop the bleeding, or at least it would slow down the bleeding. But if it's Trump, right again, they'll be trying to impeach him 5 minutes after he is sworn into office. Kerry Lake, lesser known, but very good speaker. And I wouldn't have a problem with her, I don't think, but I don't really know her well enough. I don't really know how she stands on every issue. So she would not be my first choice. What does everybody else think? Let's see. We got 46 watching right now, 31 likes. Please, if you're new, subscribe and hit the like button and hit the notification bell, because sometimes, like during the week, we came on at like 1 o'clock in the morning for a off the cuff ramblings, and we got an audience. We got about 15, 16 people, and now almost 500 people when you factor in the replay. So please watch the whole thing if you can. You can always pause. It really helps my watch time hours. And thank you for watching the other videos. Watch the Paul McCartney video that I have. Did Paul McCartney die 56 years ago? Did Ringo verify? That video is still up, and I hope with the new thumbnail, it doesn't appear when you change it right away, that show possibly who they say was Fall, not Paul, but Fall. The Beatles referred to him as Fall. And the whole thing was George Harrison was using these mini cassettes to tell the story and then mailing them to the press, the certain newspaper. And but the thing is that as he tells the story, it sounds like a younger George. It sounds maybe like a put on accent. I don't know, you know because we know how George sounded when he was older, because he did a lot of interviews, before he passed away, smoked himself to death, was almost killed by a fan when they broke into his mansion. I know, I remember that one. And sometimes people will react to something like, never heard that one yet, and I'm not sure what thing you may be talking to Brenda, for example, and I'm not sure what you're referring to. Praying for the rapture of the church soon. Oh, you're a pre-tribber, or are you a mid-tribber? I think I'm a mid-tribber, but I don't really know. No man knows the day or the hour, but we do know the signs. Talks about it in the Bible. It talks about you'll know when these things start to happen, and they are a happening. They are a happening. Well, we've been on the on already an hour for Worldwide Rambling Special Friday edition. No Saturday night edition this week. Very likely next week we'll go back to a Saturday night. Woke Pope, the Woke Pope. Anybody watch right here on YouTube? That's where I watch it. The World Over with Raymond Arroyo, who you also see on Fox News. He's a Fox News contributor. And Laura Ingram has him on all the time. He was on today with Friday Follies, and he has something that he does on Monday. But on Thursdays, he does the World Over show. So there should be a new. I looked today. I don't think I saw it. Maybe he didn't do one this week. He does take a week off here and there, but he's had so much to talk about with the Pope, and everybody's so unhappy with the woke Pope. The woke Pope seems to be very happy with cardinals and bishops and even priests that have done terrible things. He doesn't take them out of ministry. He may move them around, which is a popular trick, put them somewhere else. But the Pope's decision process is often called into question. Like he really likes this Cardinal Fernandez. He brought him to Rome to minister in Rome. Cardinal Fernandez, 25 years ago, wrote a book called Mystical Passions. This is going to be sadly graphic, but not overly graphic, but sickening. What he wrote about in this book. It includes a vivid graphic description of a sexual encounter with Jesus Christ. That is, I couldn't believe it when I heard that. Then there's Marco Rupnik, disgraced Jesuit priest. He's still He's still wearing the collar. He wrote a book called Heal Me with Your Mouth. Now, the Holy Father has to know about the words and behavior of Marco Rubnik and Cardinal Fernandez, but he brought Fernandez to Rome and made him a bishop, knowing he has written about underage sexuality, a pornographic style too. He says he says the Blessed Mother was looking on as Jesus was having a sexual encounter. You can't make this stuff up. And these guys are still priests. This is the judgment of Pope Francis. I get the feeling a lot of people are hoping that he goes on to whatever he's going to go on to pretty soon. And I don't think they're going to want to have. It's not going to be the heart of Rome and a lot of people to have the usual grand funeral ceremony that they just had for Benedict a few years ago. Benedict made some bad choices in terms of keeping people in ministry, but he was beloved. Ratzinger, right? A real name, Ratzinger. Benedict was beloved, but nobody was as much as Pope John Paul, the most recent Pope John Paul. So this is just weird stuff. Of course, the big controversy is the Pope making it like canon law, even though they say it's in direct conflict of canon law, same-sex relationship of blessings, not on the altar, but in an informal setting. So priests have been doing it right next to the altar. It's in the church. The Pope's teaching is being called heresy. As Mother Angelica said once when someone called, does anybody know Mother Angelica? She's passed away now, definitely went on to be with the Lord. But she founded the Eternal Word television network, the Catholic network that is still on, EWTN. And someone called up and said, well, I just wanted to say, Mother, it wasn't a crank call, that I'm gay. And I find it very difficult being in the Catholic Church. And she went on to say, well, you say you're gay. If you have the inclination to be homosexual, but you don't practice, then you can be in good standing in the Catholic Church. But if you practice homosexuality, the Bible says that you're in grave mortal sin. She was very delicate and what have you. And folks, I am not here to do any gay bashing. I think that many people notice bisexual feelings in their own lives. We all have histories and what have you like that. But it's another thing. And when you're the Pope or any Protestant leader, it's another thing when you say the Bible says something that it doesn't, when you start to change the words of Jesus Christ. When you do that, you are putting yourself up for major judgment at the end of your life, which the blood of Christ will not cover. It says what will happen to you in the last few verses of the Bible in the book of Revelation. So committing sin and then trying to say Jesus said it's okay, that's two different things. Putting a blessing on it, I don't know what this Pope is about. One thing I think he could have done, which I think you could have supported biblically, is to allow priests to be married. They allow the Anglican priests to be married that come from the Church of England. And I've said this before, I knew one, and he was great. He had a wife and he had a son and daughter, and he was well balanced and a great preacher, et cetera, et cetera. But instead of doing that, he goes into this fringe area, which has caused, so much conflict. And he has gotten rid of great bishops like Bishop Strickland, who I think would make a wonderful pope, and Cardinal Burke, who was, getting old and going to retire anyway. He's well into his 80s. We don't need another old pope. Strickland would be perfect, I think. Great man of God, just trying to stick with what the Bible says. So this watch The World Over with Raymond Arroyo. Usually new episodes drop on Thursday right here on YouTube if you don't get EWTN directly. And that's all I have to say about that. Wolf in sheepskin, a wolf in sheep's clothing, right? It's just awful how people are being fooled by these pastors, bishops, and so on. And there's many wonderful ones too. But yeah, you're right. You're right. I agree with that. Yeah, Joyce is a pre-tribber. I don't know. Pretty soon, Joyce, you're going to be proved wrong because it's like we're just about in the beginning now. It seems. It seems. It seems. It seems. I mean, things are happening. I'm pretty sure the Antichrist is on this earth and very active. The four horsemen are loose, yeah, and the seals are released. Just believe. Well, when those seals are released, you're going to know. We won't have to fight about it, Richard. I mean, you start seeing locusts and frogs and all those plagues that are coming. Oh, doggy, you know we missed the pre-tribulation, and now you'll be hoping you didn't miss the rapture. You start seeing people disappear around you, you know. It could be a frightening moment, huh? Could be a frightening moment. So we got through the woke pope thing. Any reaction? Replay crowd, you're free to comment here and let me know what you think. We're not bashing the Catholic Church. I was raised Catholic. I didn't become born again in the Catholic Church. I became born again in the Protestant, well, watching a Protestant minister in 1984. I spent a long time in the Protestant church, but then started to go back to the Catholic Church as I was in my first divorce, and love the mass and love everything around it, you know, the liturgy and what have you. But as much of the Catholic doctrine I would take exception to. So there is that. Pamela Sloan, hi Jack. 40 people watching. How are you doing, Pamela? I'm glad that you joined us here on a Friday special edition of Worldwide Ramblings. Yeah. So what else was I going to talk about? So maybe Tucker could be the pick. We will find out before the convention, right? We will find out. So Tucker was on the podcast with Roseanne. She is doing very well, and she has a podcast. And she asked him, you know, would you accept? And he says, gee, I don't know. I've spent a lifetime analyzing the behavior of politicians. He never really answered the question as to whether he would accept it, but he certainly didn't say he wouldn't. Now, he just started the TCN, the Tucker Carlson Network, which you can $6 or something a month, and you can get the Tucker Carlson Network. Supposedly there's 5 new shows on there from various people. I keep saying I'm going to get it, but I haven't done it yet. So maybe this coming week I will. But it could be a problem if he becomes the VP candidate. I don't think he can be a speaker anymore like that, you know. Once that happens, usually you have to stop, especially if you're on a regular network. I don't know about if you started your own network. I don't know. I don't think they're under the FCC rules. X, are they? I don't know. Somebody regulates them, of course. Someone tries to anyway. Satan appears as an angel of light. That's true. Yeah, and there's many itching ears. And, you know, the reason they're so drawn to it, Randy, you probably agree with this, is that they don't like all the rules of Christianity, you know, all the things that you have to abstain from. They'd rather a religion that says, "Oh, I've got dozens of lifetimes to work it out. Yeah, I might create some bad karma and have to come back again, but no big deal. Eat, drink, and be merry tonight at least, because you know I'm I'm having a good time. You know, God understands." Behind me is the Orchard Beach shirt that we got down there right by the beach itself. There's a great t-shirt store. It's the biggest one. You get some nice t-shirts in there at a reasonable price. We've got a snowy scene with a snowy barn with a Christmas wreath. We've got Gary Puckett. That's signed to Karen. We saw Gary Puckett and the Union Gap at the Paramount Theater right down the road here, and a few years back, maybe 2019, I'll say. And the drummer for Gary Puckett, I'm looking at him right now. Someone that when I was very young, I would go over to the Condito house for Christmas, Thanksgiving, and just to visit all the time. And Mike Condito was the youngest son, and he's been living in Las Vegas. He sings in a group called the Night Kings in Las Vegas. It's like a doo-wop group. He plays in a jazz group, but the only time he can do those two groups is when he's not out with Gary Puckett in the Union Gap, because he's been his drummer now for well over 10 years. I'd vote for Tucker. He'd be a lot better than we have to pick from. Yeah, I mean, again, I could be happy with Senator Tim Scott. I could be happy with Christy Nome. I could be happy with a few. Auntie Roo. So Trump says he already knows. I'll ignore that comment, Richard. And let's see, Pamela, Brenda, that is why I live here. I can't handle the weather in that area. You live in Florida, Pamela? Oh, yeah. Of course, you have to worry about what? In October, you have to worry about the hurricanes. In the summer, you've got obnoxious heat. And then around this time of the year, you have to worry about tornado. Oh, you're in California. 17% sales tax. Horrible governor that is letting the state be ruined, especially San Francisco, Los Angeles, and what have you. A DA that has no business in the job. Crime running rampant, violent crime as well. But there's many beautiful areas of California, I'm aware. I went up to Santa Barbara. It was beautiful, little visit for a few days back years ago, like in the around 1980, 1981, I guess, when I was working for Burns Security out there. And so I know that it's very beautiful. I've been to Santa Monica, love it. It's beautiful. Kind of stepped one foot into Malibu. And I lived right in downtown Hollywood, California. I was right around the corner from Capitol Records. Oh, the stories I will never tell you. But I did not know Jesus then. I did know Merv Griffin though. I went to many Merv Griffin shows back in the day. That was on Vine Street, and I would stand on the standby line, and they didn't worry too much that I'd been there before. So I saw I don't know, a dozen Merv Griffin shows back in the day. He was a lot of fun. And of course, if it was a favorite person on there, you were thrilled. And then you hated it when you couldn't get in, and it was somebody legendary like Orson Welles or, yes, Lucille Ball. I did see her in the back parking lot. Didn't go anywhere near her. You weren't really supposed to when you're at that level, But other people were friendly. I spoke with Isaac Hayes in the back of Merv Griffin. I didn't see the show, couldn't get in for that one, but I spoke to Isaac Hayes and a few others. Yeah. Tony Danza was kind of an ass, I thought, he had his father with him. I remember that. And he had a sports car, and he couldn't get out of there fast enough, it seemed, But, everybody is different, and who knows what he had to do that night. Southern California. It never rains in Southern California. But man, don't they warn you, in February, it will rain and pour, and your house could slide down the hill if you should be on a hill. Don't be on a hill. Be where the house will slide into you, but not where you're going to slide with it. You know what I mean? Yeah. I used to work downtown LA. Well, I did too, because when I started working for Burns Security in 1979 there. I said, I'm going to stay this time of year. I've been to California like 3 or 4 times, and the longest I ever stayed was for a month. I said, I'm going to stay for a year. And I did. I said, after a year, I'll know I'm never going to leave, or I'm going to leave and not come back. And I left and didn't come back not until 1998 when, with my children and another family, my wife Mary and I, we all went on vacation in Los Angeles and then on to Las Vegas, where we saw David Cassidy perform his Las Vegas Spectacular show. Well, thank you, Mary. Um, she says, I crack her up. So, yeah, one of the gigs I had in downtown LA was, is it Crocker Bank? Is that still there? Crocker Bank. I worked at this big skyscraper. I thought it was like headquarters or something. I remember one of my duties in the evening is I had to take the elevator and go up like 15 floors. I had to get off at each one and turn the daytime lights off on 15 floors at the Crocker Bank. I was never permanently assigned there, but I did that several times. I was in a sweatshop outside of downtown, East LA, and I worked this place right there in downtown Los Angeles. It was a special ritzy event. I think I wore my soft uniform. I looked like Tony Randall with a striped tie, gray pants, badge on the belt, and it was some kind of a big celebrity thing that I worked in downtown Los Angeles. Boy, you're taking me back. You're taking me back in time, going back in time. Well, this won't be too long of a show because, as Forrest Gump said to which president was he supposedly standing in front of? Lyndon Johnson, I think. He had drank all the free Dr. Peppers. We know that's Elvis's favorite drink, right? Dr. Pepper. When he finally got, no, it was JFK. It was JFK that he said this to. They got President Kennedy to say something like, well, it's nice to meet you. And he says, I got to pee. Yes. Judy is here. I got to pee. I could leave you and talk amongst yourselves if I need to, but of course I don't want to go too long tonight. Well, I know, no, Johnson, Jimmy, maybe think about it. Johnson was the one, he told him where that he had been shot in combat. Forrest said he'd been shot in combat. And he said, really, where did you get shot? And he said, in the buttocks, Mr. President, in the buttocks. And Johnson said, wow, that's something. I kind of like to see that as a joke. Supposedly they've got Johnson, they're fixing it, somebody doing the voice. And then, of course, Tom Hanks turns his back and lowers his trousers enough for him to see the wound. You never get tired of Forrest Gump. Good night, Jack. You and Karen stay warm. Well, you certainly will try. I hear Brad coming in from his gig, but his gig ended 3 hours ago at the Hook and Reel. He's the piano man, He's finally coming home. I don't know where he's been for 3 hours in this cold, snowy night, though the snow has stopped the last I looked. Would you want to see a sequel to Forrest Gump? Yes, I would, but it would have to be a really great script, but because of, of Gary and Tom and Jenny passed away in the first one. Sally is still kicking, but Mama went to heaven too. She got the cancer. That's all I have to say about that. That's all I have to say about that. Yeah, of course, but it's like, Robin Williams was getting really close to doing Mrs. Doubtfire too. And would it have been good? Would it have been any good? Or would people should say, oh, you don't mess with something sacred like that, I think I told this story about the young lad, Matthew Lawrence, who played the youngest child in Mrs. Doubtfire. And, Robin was so great on the set and so funny and what have you. And so there was a break in filming, and Robin had gone to his trailer, and Matthew Lawrence decides that he's going to try to hang out with Robin in his trailer. And the Robin Williams that he met in the trailer was not a mean, nasty person. No, a person ravaged by depression and a sense of unworthiness and probably alcohol addiction. He was so struck with uh, with who Robin Williams could be when the cameras weren't rolling. Imagine going out and everybody wants you to be funny. I mean, if you're doing the Johnny Carson show, if you're doing Leno, you know that you're going to be, expected to be funny. You're going to pump yourself up for it because so much of what he did was ad lib. But imagine people expect you to be that way all the time. And he couldn't be, he couldn't be. Well, hi, Steven Spielich. Hello, Jack. I got here a bit late. Yeah, well, you can always watch the replay, but I'm so glad you came. I'm so glad you came. Time flies when you are on. It does feel that way even to me. That may sound self-serving, but no, it's just like, I think, my God, I just babble on, and I'm happy when I see other people having a good time and talking amongst themselves. Um, so it's really cool. Please subscribe and like. If you're new here, hit the notification bell. We have a lot of people that haven't joined us tonight. We don't usually do Friday nights, but this is kind of a special deal because I might go see some live music tomorrow night. Kind of feel like these guys. I know two people in the band at the Captain's Table in Monroe, New York, 9 to midnight. It's funny. The older you get, going out for a 9 o'clock a tavern gig, it's a restaurant too, obviously, um seems kind of weird, but I may do that, because so the two of the band members that I know, used to go out all the time to see them play, and it's been years now. It's been years. Good night, Brenda. We said that, yeah. And welcome, Stephen Spielich. Were you going to talk about Bob Joyce again? When? Well, Jimmy, I think I talk about this in the Let's Let Bob Joyce Do Him or Be Him. I'm only going to do breaking news now. I've been doing this for 6 years. I've been talking about this. Now, in 2023, there was a bunch of breaking news, so I would have been doing a number of videos with that kind of policy. Who knows? I just heard Brad sneeze. I better look out, right? Um, who knows what'll happen this year. I feel that there's going to be breaking news in 2024. I'm not going to talk about that, but we'll see what happens. And I'll cover it as if the Lord gives me breath and doesn't give me conviction that I shouldn't. I'll cover it in 2024. But I'm not looking to put the magic words in the title of live shows. I quickly learned if I didn't do it, I'd get less views, and that's what's going to happen. Um, Live shows are good because it brings the watch time hours up. A lot of you watch for a good while. If you're talking about someone in the XYZ generation, their attention span is what? Less than that of a gerbil? Is it 8 seconds or something like that? I mean, I did that thing on I think it was 48 seconds long on the electric cars dying in Iowa, the charging stations freezing up as well, and what have you, talking about Biden, who claims to be for democracy, but yet he does everything he can against democracy. And look what he's trying to do to the fishing industry in places like Maine now. Literally have on the bigger boats like a policeman watching that they follow the regulations, and the boat owner, the boat company, whatever, has to pay for that. It's insane, and it's like thousands of pages of documents, and it's gone all the way to the Supreme Court now. And I hope the Supreme Court says no. No, you're not going to. You've done enough destruction, Mr. President. You're not going to ruin the fishing industry now. You've already opened the border and caused cities to be in tremendous they're going broke as they try to deal with the influx. And it's there's like the top 12 things you could mention are horrific of what has happened in the last 3 years. So, Jimmy, good night. God bless. So that's the story. Jimmy Samples, not Junior Samples from Hee Haw. I'm only going to do breaking news on the topic. 6 years of this, the videos we have up, and there's many, continue to do very well. New people find them, and we're over 5,500 subscribers now. My biggest video has 104,000 hits, views. The Verdict #1, Bob Joyce, Elvis, The Verdict, that's #1. 104,000. The Verdict 2 has got like 78 or 79,000 now, going towards 80,000, and they keep growing, and I'm very, very happy about that. It really helps me out a lot, and I'm glad new people are finding it. So yeah, what else did I put in the title? We talked about the Pope. We talked about Tucker. Could be a possible VP pick. I miss Tucker at 8 o'clock every night, but I'm catching more and more of his stuff on YouTube. And if you get TCN, you can see all of it. Tucker Carlson Network. We basically caught up on Google Photos. Look at those photos that we showed you. We talked all about Paul McCartney and is he still alive, or is that William Campbell, whose nickname was Billy Shears? So we talk all about that. And a lot of people like that one. Oh, I see. I see, Jimmy. Well, all right. Huh. Still 38 watching. It's midnight here on the East Coast. It's midnight ramblings now. Don't forget the replay. If you missed any, you can check that out. And the Friars. Was going to talk about the Friars right here on Tubi. As I say, I've been watching Jesse Stone with Tom Selleck, trying to catch up on all the episodes I missed because I never saw the show. And he's great as Jesse Stone, the sheriff or police chief that just can't stay away from the scotch. And William Devane as his therapist. It's great. And in some of the episodes, Viola Davis as the second in command, I guess, there. And but there's a wonderful documentary on the Friars, the brothers. They don't even get to celebrate Mass, which I always had visions of celebrating Mass. I would have never made it through seminary. I would have never been able to learn all the things you have to do to be a priest, and there would have been other things I would have been deficient in, I'm sure. But these guys, I mean, they just immerse themselves in prayer, immerse themselves in a regimentation that is maybe not as physically demanding as the Marines, but psychologically demanding as the Marines, So, excuse me. Just I watched like 3/4 of it. These gentlemen that worked their way into being friars. You would think the Catholic Church would take a lot of people, but they're very particular about who they allow to be friars. They need to be more particular about the Catholic priests sometimes. But a wolf can always disguise his coat. He can always disguise his coat and make himself look more like a lamb than a wolf. But the discernment of the Lord could come into play as well. 38 watching right now. Got to go for the Dollar Tree glasses. Looking at the Word of God. If your enemy is hungry, feed him. This is the 12th chapter of Romans. If he is thirsty, give him something to drink. In doing so, you will heap burning coals on his head. Isn't that interesting? I had forgotten that verse. In other words, it's God's job to do the judgment if he sees fit for an unrepentant person, It's not our job. Talking about love, I'm sure this has been read at many weddings in chapter 12, beginning with verse 9. Love must be sincere. Hate what is evil, cling to what is good. Be devoted to one another in brotherly love. Honor one another above yourselves. Never be lacking in zeal, but keep your spiritual fervor serving the Lord. Be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, faithful in prayer. Share with God's people who are in need. Practice hospitality. Bless those who persecute you. Bless and do not curse. Rejoice with those who rejoice. Mourn with those who mourn. Live in harmony with one another. Do not be proud, but be willing to associate with people of low position. Do not be conceited. Do not repay anyone evil for evil. Be careful to do what is right in the eyes of everybody. If it is possible, as far as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone. Do not take revenge, my friends, but leave room for God's wrath. For it is written, "It is mine to avenge. I will repay. I will repay," says the Lord. So there you go. The more we do it God's way, the better our life becomes, and we'll die not knowing everything. I mean, I don't understand. Oh yeah, the march for life was held in Washington D.C. on Friday the 19th in a snowstorm. You would think God would have made it nicer weather for them, but yet in a way, He's weeping for the lost babies that would go right into the presence of God. I believe so much we don't understand about all this. So much. It's a faith journey all the way. And I've made my decision for Jesus Christ. I accepted Him into my heart. I did what Romans 10, verses 9 and 10 says to do. If you believe in your heart and confess with your tongue that Jesus Christ is Lord, you will be saved. It's a heart prayer, asking Jesus to come into your heart. You must be born again, or you cannot see or enter the kingdom of heaven. That's what Jesus told a rabbi named Nicodemus. Thank you, Mary. Yeah, I always hope, Mary, that the Lord will lead me to the right verse. Have a good night, says Jimmy Samples, and the same to you, Jimmy and Mary and Joyce and Shell, Stephen Spielich, Brenda Noyce, and Jake, Judy Wright, Jimmy, maybe I said right, Pamela Sloan, Patty with an I, Patricia. I'm not seeing it at the moment, but I remember those names. One name makes me think of another name, Joyce, and Richard Lyon, the lion that lives near Billionaires Row. You got to tell me about that sometime, Richard. Debbie Bishop, yes. And Randy from North Carolina, Melissa VD. I know there was a few new people tonight besides Debbie Bishop. Deborah Lake, thank you, Deborah. And yes, Patricia Barn from Pennsylvania. Patricia Harmon. Linda Justice, if I didn't say that, and Vicky Smith. I knew if I kept scrolling, I'd find Mike Fortner drop by real quick. Thank you for dropping by. Cheryl Everhart, of course. Carlene Brown. Yes. And William Brown. That made me think of William Brown. Charlotte was here. Charlotte Surratt. And Linda Medlock from Washington State, way up in Washington State. Really, really cool. Yeah. Back to the end of the list here. So, Worldwide Ramblings, please watch the replay if you've missed any, and share and like it. It's hard to share a long video like this, but please subscribe, hit the notification bell. We may come on when you're least expecting. All right. Well, I got through it. It's absolutely freezing in here since I blocked off the heat from downstairs, and I think Brad is probably already snoring at this moment, 10 minutes after midnight as I do this live. So we'll be popping on during the week, I'm sure. If you see a pre-recorded video, I hope you'll give it a chance. I'm keeping those pretty short. But there's so much to talk about politically and stuff like that, but other topics as well. I appreciate you so much. Let's see if we can't get closer to God this week, keep him in our minds, and do better than we have ever done before. If not now, when? Bye-bye, everybody.